Hello, everybody. I guess they got done with special counsel on Biden's document thing, and they said they didn't see a problem. The problem is he was a senator when he had them, and they were scattered all over the freaking country. Not a problem. You can see how crooked it really is. But on the other hand, I think Mayorkas may be a can. Um, the one station that's still going on, and Johnson is speaking and all that stuff. There's like about 6,000 some people in there all speaking J6 and all this bad stuff. But look how many people are watching it. I try not to. They tick me off because they're so damned ignorant. But anyway, we'll get to this. Somebody didn't like what I was saying in the last one, but here we go. U.S. launches strikes in Iraq, Syria, nearly 40 reported killed. Summary. Adds Iraq comment in a paragraph 5. Strikes were in retaliation for attack that killed 3 U.S. troops. Troops didn't kill all of them. Troops, you know what troops are? That's a bunch of them. Just 3. 3's bad enough, but you know that my answer to that, they don't need to be there. Just bring them home. Nobody's going to be killed. This country cannot, it's not capable of defending itself because they are giving money, aid to other people. U.S. attacks wall increased tension. Iraq summons U.S. change affairs in protest. Iraq condemns U.S. strikes, says 16 killed. Washington, Baghdad, February 3rd, Reuters. The United States launched airstrikes in Iraq and Syria against more than 85 targets linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Get that? Iran's Revolutionary Guard and militias. It backs, reportedly killing nearly 40 people in retaliation for a deadly attack on U.S. troops. These are Shiites. These ones here. The strikes, which included the use of long-range B-1 bombers flown from the United States, were the first in response to the attack last weekend in Jordan by Iraq-backed militias. Iran-backed militias. And more U.S. military operations are expected in the coming days. The strikes intensified a conflict that was spread into the region since war erupted between Israel and Hamas. After the militant Palestinian group's deadly assault on Israel on October 7th, Israel's foreign ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani said in a statement, the attacks represented and another adventure and strategic mistake by the United States that will result only in increased tensions and instability. Iraq's summoned the U.S. charge, uh, charged affairs in Baghdad to deliver a format protest. Iraq reinstated its refusal and its lands be and areas for setting scores for showing force between warring countries. The Nazi uh, foreign minister. Did I say no? That's the Iraqi Nazi. I got Nazi on my brain. Iraqi foreign ministry said in a statement, Iraq's popular mobilization forces a state society force, including Iran-backed groups, said 16 of its members were killed, including fighters and medics. The government earlier said civilians were among 16 dead. You know what gets me about this? I heard that Biden dictated to those where they were going to get hit, and those people moved out. That's how stupid he really is. In Syria, the strikes killed 23 people who had been guarding the targeted locations, said Ron Abdullah, director of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which reports on war in Syria. U.S. Lieutenant General Douglas Sims, the director of the Joint Staff, said the attacks appeared to be successful, triggering large secondary explosions as the bombs hit militant weaponry. Yeah, but where did you get any of them? He said the strikes were undertaken knowing that there would likely be casualties among those in the facilities. Yeah, but were they there? Despite the strikes, the Pentagon has said it does not want war with Iran and does not believe Tehran wants war either, even as pressure has increased. Republican pressures has increased on U.S. President Joe Biden to deal a blow directly. Oh crap! Oh man, I can't believe this crap. They can't do it without saying that word with the R. Iran, which backs Hamas, has sought to stay out of the regional conflict itself, even as it backs groups that have entered the fray from Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria, the so-called Axis resistance that is hostile to Israel and U.S. interests. We do not seek conflict. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, yeah, right, I can't stand you either, said after the strikes that Biden has directed additional action against the IRGC and those linked to it. This is the start of our response, Austin said. We do not seek conflict in the Middle East or anywhere else, but the president and I will not tolerate strikes against strikes on American forces, Austin said. An Iraqi government statement said the areas bombed by U.S. aircraft included places where Iraqi security forces are stationed near civilian locations. It said 23 people had been wounded, in addition to 16 killed. The White House said the United States had informed Iraqi ahead of Iraqi head of strikes. Baghdad later accused the United States of deception, saying U.S. claim of coordination with the Iraqi authorities was unfounded. On Friday, Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi said this country will not start a war, but it will respond. It will respond strongly to anyone who bullies it. He did not mention the U.S. strikes in a speech on Saturday morning. Iran's Space Technology Day. Iran's ambassador in Damascus, Hassan Akbari, comments reported by the semi-critical Far news agency played down the strikes, denying Iran-linked targets were hit and saying that the aim was to destroy Syria's civil infrastructures. Hamas said Washington was pouring oil on the fire. Britain called the United States its steadfast ally and said it supports Washington's right to respond to attacks. That's the only country. Polish Foreign Minister Radek Sikorski, arriving for an EU meeting in Brussels, said the U.S. strikes were the result of an Iranian proxy playing with fire. I don't think so. The United States has been begging for this crap. Or not the United States, but the people in charge. More than 160 attacks on U.S. troops. The strikes hit targets including command and control centers, rockets, missiles, and drone storage facilities, as well as logistic and munition supply chain facilities, the U.S. military said. In Iraq, residents aid several strikes hit the Sikkak neighborhood in Al-Qaim, a residential area that locals said was also used by armed groups to store large amounts of weapons. You mean you listen to that stuff, man? I wouldn't trust that either. Militants had left the area and gone into hiding in the days since the Jordan attack. Local sources. It's because Biden warned them. Uh, he warned them, and then went freaking dang hit the targets. What an idiot! Gave him a list. Cali as well. A Sagat resident said the U.S. strikes and secondary explosions of militants stored in neighborhoods had caused widespread damage. U.S. troops have been attacked over 160 times in Iraq, Syria, and Jordan since October 7th. That's a dang lie too. Usually with a mix of rockets and one-way attack drones, prompting the United States to mount several retaliatory attacks even before the latest strikes. The United States has assessed that the drone that killed the 3 soldiers and wounded more than 40 other people in the Jordan was made by Iran, U.S. officials have told Reuters. Our response began today. It will continue at times and places of our choosing, Biden said. The top Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Roger Wicker, criticized Biden for failing to impose a high enough cost on Iran and taking too long to respond. Well, you know what? Biden gave Iran a bunch of money right before all this stuff in trade for hostages or something. Bargain with them. Iranian, and then you're giving them money. Iranian advisors assist armed groups in both Iraq, where the United States has around 2,500 troops, and Syria have it was 900. Additional reporting by Ines Alaska Ray, I don't know, Adam McRae, Andrew Gray, and Sabin Seinbold in Brussels, writing by Tom Perry. Oh, it's just that's ridiculous. People are, for even saying it, thumbs down, call me a liar. Okay. A nuclear attack would most likely hardest targets one of these U.S. cities, but an expert says none of them are prepared. He's right. A nuclear attack on U.S. soil would most likely target one of 6 cities: New York, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. Don't bother me. But a public health expert says any of these, any of those cities would in struggle to provide emergency services to the wounded. We're having problems with healthcare stuff now. The cities also no longer have designated fallout shelters to protect people from uh, radiation. See, we did that when I was a kid. The chance that a nuclear bomb would strike a U.S. city is slim, but but nuclear expert says not out of the question. A nuclear attack in a large metropolitan area, one of the 15 disaster scenarios for which the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency has emergency strategies. Remember when we got that stupid emergency thing? The agency's plan involves deploying first responders, providing time, immediate shelter for evacuees and um, decontaminating victims who have been exposed to radiation. For everyday citizens, FEMA has some simple advice: get inside, stay inside, and stay tuned. Yeah, right, you're not dead. But according to Erwin Redlener, a public health expert at Columbia University who specializes in disaster preparedness, these federal guidelines aren't enough to prepare a city for a nuclear attack. There isn't a single jurisdiction in America that has anything approaching an adequate plan to deal with nuclear detonation, he said. That uh, includes the 6 urban areas that Redlener thinks are the most likely targets of a nuclear attack: New York City, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. These cities are not only one of the largest and densest in the country, but home to critical infrastructure like energy plants, financial hubs, government facilities, and wireless transmission systems that are to U.S. vital to U.S. security. Each city has an emergency management website other website that informs citizens about what to do in a crisis. But most of those cities, except for LA, New York, don't directly mention on a nuclear attack. That makes it difficult for residents to learn how to protect themselves if a bomb were to hit one of those cities. or it would not be the end of life as we it would not be the end of life as we know it, Redlener said. Of that scenario, it would just be a horrible, catastrophic disaster with many, many unknown and cascading consequences. Cities might struggle to provide emergency service for after a nuclear strike. Nuclear bombs can produce clouds of dust and sand like radioactive particles that disperse into the atmosphere, what's referred to as nuclear fallout. Yep. Exposure to this fallout can result in radiation poisoning, which can damage the body's cells and prove fatal. The debris takes at least 15 minutes to reach ground level after an explosion. So a person's response during the period could be a matter of life or death. People can protect themselves from fallout by immediately seeking refuge in the center or basement of a brick, steel, or concrete building, preferably one without windows. A little bit of information can save a lot of lives. Burke Budmeiser, health physicist at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, told Business Insider Budmeiser advises emergency managers about how to protect populations from nuclear attacks. If we can't just get people inside, we can significantly reduce their exposure, he said. The most important scenario to prepare for, according to Redlener, isn't all-out nuclear war, but a singular nuclear explosion, such as a missile launch from North Korea. Right now, he said, North Korean missiles are capable of reaching Alaska or Hawaii, but they could soon be able to reach cities along the West Coast. Another source of an attack could be a nuclear device that was built, purchased, or stolen by a terrorist organization. All 6 cities Redlener identified are listed as Tier 1 area by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, meaning they're considered places where a terrorist attack would yield the most devastation. There is no safe city, Redliner said. In New York City, the detonation of a Hiroshima-sized bomb, or even one a little smaller, could have anywhere between 50,000 to 10 to 100,000 fatalities, depending on the time of day and where the action attacked, and hundreds of thousands of people injured. Some stimulates are even higher. Data from Alex Wallerstein, a nuclear weapons historian at the Stevens Institute of Technology, indicates that that a 15 kiloton explosion like the one in Hiroshima would result in more than 225,000 fatalities and 610 injuries in New York City. Under those circumstances, not even the entire state of New York would have enough hospital beds to service the wounded. New York State has 40,000 hospital beds, almost all of which are occupied all the time. Redliner said. He also expressed concern about what might happen to emergency responders who try to help. Are we actually going to order National Guard troops or U.S. soldiers to go into highly radioactive zones? Will we be getting bus drivers to go in and pick up people to take them to safety? He said every strategic or tactical response is fraught with inadequacies. Big cities don't have detonated fallout shelters. In 1961, around the height of the Cold War, the U.S. launched the Community Fallout Shelter Program, which designated safe places to hide after nuclear attack in cities across the country. Most shelters were on the upper floors of high-rise buildings, so they were meant to protect people only from radiation and not the blast itself. Cities were responsible for stocking their shelves with food and sanitation and medical supplies paid for by federal government. By the time funding for the program ran out in the 1970s, New York City had designated 1,800 fallout shelters to protect up to 11 million people. See, I remember this stuff when I was a kid. That's what you saw all the time. In 2017, New York City officials began removing the yellow signs that once marked these shelters to avoid the misconception that they were still active. Red Letter said that the Red Letter said there's reason the shelters no longer exist. Major cities, New York City, San Francisco, are in need of more affordable housing, making it difficult for city officials to justify reserving space for food and medical supplies. Can you imagine a public official keeping buildings intact for fallout shelters when the real estate make it so tight? Make no mistake, it's real estate market. The real estate market is so tight, Redletter said. This is a port of 21st century reality, part of our 21st century reality. Redletter said many city authorities worry that even offering nuclear explosion response plans might induce panic among residents. There's fear among people, officials said, that if they went out and publicly said, this is what you need to know in the event of a nuclear attack, then the people would fear that the mayor knew something that the public did not, he said. Yeah, we remember about a few years ago, well, probably 4, but educating the public doesn't have to be scary, Budweiser said. Budweiser. The good news is that get inside, stay tuned, still works, he said. I kind of liken to stop, drop, and roll. If your clothes catch on fire, that's what you should do. It doesn't make you afraid of fire, hopefully, but it does allow you the opportunity to take action to save your life. You know what we were taught? Get under your desk. When you're at school with your hand over your head. Both experts agreed that for a city to be prepared for a nuclear attack, it must acknowledge that such an attack is possible, even if the threat is remote. This is part of the 21st century reality, Redliner said. I've apologized to my children and grandchildren for leaving the world in such a horrible mess, but it is what it is now. Yeah, amen on that one. I do know. Okay, let's see now, right here. Okay, let's do something here. No, that was that one. This is this one. Okay. This is the debt clock for 2008 when Obama took office. Right there it was 11 trillion. Right there. This is when Obama left office. was 20 trillion. This is 2020. When Trump left office, 27 trillion. This is now 34 trillion. Okay, Biden got it up. Freaking dang one. He got it up to $7 trillion and climbing in 3 years. No more money. That's why I say they can't help the people in this country. They can't help anybody else. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it. But I just had to look at that. But that's crazy. I mean, let's see, when Obama was in there with 11, and 2016, I think it was 20 something. So that there was 8 years for Obama, and his was 9. He did 9 trillion, and he was in there. Freaking Biden's worse than Obama. What to show you? I can't stand either one, but that's the way it is. 2024, February 8th, 2024. Okay, I just wanted to bring that to you because that idiot that gave me a thumbs down at Iran, I know that's what it is. It's full in the nuclear thing. Bunch of crap. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Man, I don't want to be right, but man, I want people to know. Be aware of what's going on. Not be burying your head in the sand every day. Gotta be ready. I mean, you're not ready. If you believe all the crap that they're saying and these Dems are telling you, you're freaking lost. I'm sorry. When Trump was in there, it was run by Democrats. Pelosi was in the speaker. She was the speaker. She was the speaker up until he left. So the Democrats, she was in Congress, and then he had the butt heads in Senate. Yeah, presidents can only do so much. Congress holds the purse strings. So, yeah, you can't, president can't do nothing. See, now it's going against Biden. So, because the small margin in the Congress on the Republican side. But it's not enough. Now this is going to mess me up. But I'm so tired. I'm tired of the whole thing. Tired of their lies. Their stupid lies. And people eating it up like it's candy. You try to warn a man you're a bad person, they're gonna freaking remember it. You stand out there freaking seeing something come up, hit something and it freaking goes into a mushroom. Ain't nobody gonna be ready for that. Plus, we got all those illegals in this country. God knows where they're at. I've seen more and more Hispanic speaking people in a small town that I've not seen them in before. They speak in Spanish. You don't know, you can't understand what they're saying unless you speak Spanish, and not too many people do. Oh, I should say, oh, God bless, and stay safe is all I can say. Don't believe everything.